Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen hit a defiant note on Wednesday after China threatened retaliation if she met House Speaker Kevin McCarthy while transiting through the United States this week. She spoke at a Taiwan airport before leaving for the US.
Taiwan's determination to go global will only grow stronger. Taiwan is the world's Taiwan. Leading Taiwan to the world and bringing the world into Taiwan is an important goal of our administration. External pressure will not hinder our determination to go to the world. We're calm and confident, will neither yield nor provoke.
China, which claims democratically ruled Taiwan as its own territory, has repeatedly warned US officials not to meet Tsai, viewing it as support for the island's desire to be seen as a separate country. A spokesperson for China's Taiwan Affairs Office, Zhu Fenglian, told reporters that it would be, quote, another provocation that seriously violates the One China principle, harms China's sovereignty and territorial identity, if Tsai were to have contact with McCarthy, adding that China, quote, firmly opposes this and will definitely take measures to resolutely fight back. China staged war games around Taiwan last August, when then US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei. Taiwan's armed forces have said they are keeping watch for any Chinese moves while Tsai is abroad. Tsai is going to Guatemala and Belize, transiting through New York first and Los Angeles on the way back. While not officially confirmed, she is expected to meet McCarthy while in California. Taiwanese presidents routinely pass through the United States while visiting diplomatic allies in Latin America, the Caribbean and the Pacific, which, although not official visits, are often used by both sides for high-level meetings.
The Democratic Progressive Party authorities create various excuses and take advantage of various opportunities to engage in activities aimed at seeking independence for political self-interest. The so-called transit by the leader of the Taiwan authorities is essentially a provocative act of relying on the US for independence. The purpose is to create an incident to promote one China, one Taiwan and two Chinas so as to peddle the idea of Taiwan independence internationally and seek the support of anti-China forces in the US. Should the leader of Taiwan engage with the Congress Speaker McCarthy during her transit in the US, it will be another provocation that seriously violates the One China principle, damages China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and undermines peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. We firmly oppose this and will take resolute countermeasures to fight back.
Oh, I know. I told you. I try to not be tardy as often as I can. Every Taiwan president has transited the United States. President Tsai has transited the U.S. 6 times since taking office in 2016. This will be her 7th transit. These transits have always been consistent with long-standing U.S. practice, consistent with the unofficial nature of our relations with Taiwan, and consistent with the U.S. One China policy, which remains unchanged. Our approach to Taiwan and transits by its senior authorities have remained consistent across decades and administrations, and we have a long-standing One China policy, which is guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 U.S.-China joint communiques, and the 6 assurances. The U.S. opposes any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side, and we do not support Taiwan independence, and we expect cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means. There is no reason to take countermeasures. There's no reason for Beijing to turn this transit, which is consistent with longstanding U.S. policy, into something it's not, or to overreact. As you do probably recall, Russia has informed the U.S. that it will no longer provide notifications under New START as it relates to ballistic missile launches, but it will continue to provide missile launch notifications under the 1988 Ballistic Missile Launch Notifications Agreement, and they have not notified us of any changes to that approach. This is a treaty that is of importance to us. We believe it offers and enhances the security of not just the United States, but also the world largely, but also, in fact, Russia as well. And that's why we continue to do what we can to try and bring all parties back into compliance. The bigger picture here, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, is that we believe that this that mutual compliance of New START, it strengthens the security of the U.S., it strengthens the security of our allies and partners, it strengthens the security of Russia, and it strengthens the security of the world. And that's why we are working to preserve the treaty.
Hey guys, please just give us a clean view. Thanks.
Afternoon, everybody. As you also know, this week, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen begins transiting the United States today. This transit is consistent with our long-standing, unofficial relationship with Taiwan, and it is consistent with the United States' One China policy, which remains unchanged. It is Taiwan's decision to make these transits based on their own travel. Transits are not visits, they are private, and they're unofficial. I would also remind everyone that this is not new. Every Taiwan president has transited the United States. President Tsai Ing-wen herself has transited the U.S. 6 times since taking office in 2016, each time without incident. In all previous transits, she met with members of Congress as well as state and local officials and had public appearances. She has also transited through both New York and Los Angeles before, not uncommon. The People's Republic of China should not use this transit as a pretext to step up any aggressive activity around the Taiwan Strait. The United States and China have differences when it comes to Taiwan, but we have managed those differences for more than 40 years. President Biden and this administration has been keeping the lines of communication open with Beijing. We want to see that continue on this issue and other issues across the board, and we'll continue to strive to do that.
Thank you, Karine. John, I hear you saying that there's no need for China to respond, and yet they have threatened retaliation if the House Speaker meets with the leader of Taiwan. So what is the administration bracing for?
What we hope to see here is a normal, uneventful transit by President Tsai Ing-wen, because that's what's happened before, and there's no reason for it to be any different this time, Kristen. I will let Beijing speak for itself, and I'm certainly not going to speak for Speaker McCarthy or his agenda. There is no reason, none, for the Chinese to overreact here.
But it passed as precedent. We saw what happened when former House Speaker Pelosi visited Taiwan. There was a very robust backlash and response from China. So wouldn't it stand to reason that the administration is bracing for something similar, some type of reaction?
We'll have to see what Beijing does. We'll have to see what they do. I don't want to hypothesize or speculate about reactions here to reactions. There should not be a reaction to this since it's a normal activity.
Let me ask
In Israel, do you see the attitude of Prime Minister Netanyahu disrespectful of the president? I mean, he's known to not have a good relationship with democratic presidents, including President Obama, where he used to address him publicly in the Oval Office. So how do you see this personal relationship playing a role now in Netanyahu responding to the White House call to find a compromise?
Well, if you look at his statement that he put out, I mean, there's a lot to like about it. I mean, he talked about searching for a compromise. He talked about working towards building a consensus here with respect to these potential judicial reforms. He talked about how unshakable he knows the relationship is between the United States and Israel, and he talked about his great respect for President Biden. That's a respect that President Biden shares as well. These two gentlemen have known each other for 40-some-odd years. And the great thing about friends, and I'm sure you all have friends, you don't always agree with everything your friend does or says, and the great thing about a deep friendship is you can be that candid with one another. Today, the President announced the United States is making another significant investment in promoting democracies abroad, up to $6